Tennessee versus Hernandez Govan, count 1. We, the jury, found the defendant Hernandez Govan not guilty in count 1 of the indictment. State of Tennessee versus Hernandez Govan, count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant Hernandez Govan not guilty in count 2 of the indictment. Ma'am.
Now I'm starting to see people get up on speed when it comes to the foul play that's going on within these unalivings that we are seeing between these rappers, where at one point everyone just called them conspiracies and they dismissed it. However, it seems like the energy out there in the world got everyone on a different frequency, and now you can't just tell us anything. These days people are finally starting to ask questions, finally opening their eyes, and finally starting to realize a lot of things we have been forced to believe in the past have been lies. Now, when it comes to this young Dolph trial involving Govan Hernandez, Straight Drop, and Cornelius Smith, I've been telling y'all since 2021 when it first happened that something didn't make sense. We did a bunch of videos explaining why, and being that we have new subscribers and the information we put out about the case is still relevant to this day, I figured we'll do a Throwback Thursday video about it. Because the same thing we pointed out 4 years ago, people are now starting to point out today, where before everyone just thought it was one big conspiracy theory. Now, before we get into the video, let's get a couple things straight. For one, there's more key players that was involved in Dolph passing. It's bigger than Govan Hernandez, it's bigger than Straight Drop, and it's bigger than Cornelius Smith. Actually, Cornelius is the one that gave us the closest truth possible from his end. However, there's way more to it on another end, where you have Makita's Cookie Shop's workers allegedly involved, Paper Route Empire artists involved allegedly, and even Memphis police and politicians of Memphis involved. Oh yeah, allegedly. Do we forget the cookie shop owner's daughter, Raven, who told us a different story from her father and then threatened to quote-unquote tell it all if anybody throws her under the bus? Remember that?
Why they saying you leaked this? Why they saying you saying I leaked this? Why they saying this shit, man? What happened? Get a clear understanding as to what went on. You didn't want to do that. No, not you. No.
They saying she said it, so I'm finna go live and start talking about this bitch.
That's exactly what you did. Now your name's gonna be involved in it even more, even though I tried my damnedest to let everybody know you had nothing to do with it. The other had nothing to do with it. You guys have no connection to Makita's whatsoever. Leave their names out of it. They're innocent people. They have nothing to do with it.
That's the lie that I did.
Now on top of that, Govan's trial and everything from the beginning never made sense. He was the only one allowed to stay free despite being accused of being the one that orchestrated everything. Then he was arrested while on a $90,000 bail and still able to be released on top of that. Then the question is, who paid that $90K? Cornelius admitted allegedly CMG paid $50,000 for his attorneys, so you could only imagine where Govan got his counsel from. But on top of that, he was snitched on detail by detail and yet able to still walk free without being guilty of any charges. Like literally any charges. Have you ever seen anybody go on trial for a body and literally not get any charges against them? So let's dissect this here. Now keep in mind, Govan was acquitted on the terms of lack of evidence according to prosecutors. However, Govan and Big Jook was also called out by a witness on the case and Cornelius snitched on him. How much evidence do they need? In the regular world, when you're pointed out by not only a witness, but snitched on by a co-defendant, you're cooked. There's no way in hell you're beating that unless you got one hell of a lawyer from heaven himself. But as I always say, in the music industry world, regular laws seem to not apply to these guys. Then we will also find out that his proffer agreement has been sealed so no one could see for whatever reason. First red flag. And one of the main reasons he was able to get away with what he's gotten away with is because Yo Gotti's brother Big Jook isn't here. So who knows what he said in the proffer agreement? For all we know, he could have put everything on Big Jook himself, because we was also told later on down the line, before Big Jook actually passed away, that he was being investigated by the feds. So once again, who knows what's in that proffer agreement? Because there's no way in hell prosecutors and that judge allow Govan to get away with what he got away with. I wish we could dissect his interview he did with DJ Vlad, but Vlad loves copyrighting his content. However, he did sit there and lie through his teeth, saying he had no affiliation with CMG. When it's clear as day, it wasn't just music related. Him and Jook was boys, they even had pictures together. They knew each other for a very long time, but he claimed he was only associated with Straight Drop and CMG to help him musically in hopes of getting him signed. But what record label was he going to sign him to? CMG. That's what Straight Drop was promised on his end of the bargain, according to Cornelius Smith, along with some money. Now keep in mind, Cornelius mentioned a shootout between Straight Drop, himself, and Paper Route Empire artist Wu happening due to the money that was put on their heads by Big Jook. So if Cornelius was only buying pills from Govan, and according to Govan, he's the one that initiated the conversation about doing something to Dolph, then how did Cornelius know about a shootout between Wu and Straight Drop? Better yet, why was there a shootout between Wu, himself, and Straight Drop? And prosecutors dropped the ball because any other time they'll go investigate on Instagram, find old live clips about this shooting, and then they will actually ask him about it. But in this case, they did none of that. So maybe it's just a coincidence that they just so happen to get into a shootout with a Paper Route Empire artist who just seemed to have a bounty on his head out of nowhere before Dolph's on the live in too. Who knows? Now in this Vlad interview, Govan claims that yes, he was in the house with Big Jook and Straight Drop, because that's true. But he claims they were only in there talking about music. He states that it was Cornelius that came to Govan's house to buy pills, and once he heard that Jook was in the house, he was the one that mentioned, why isn't nobody going to do anything to Dolph for trying to take Gotti's life? But we all know that we haven't heard of that ever happening. We've never heard of Dolph involved in any attempt on Gotti's life, and Govan even admitted that in the interview himself. He even admitted he's heard of attempts on Dolph's life instead, coming from that side. So the first question is, where did Cornelius single-handedly get that theory from, that there was attempts on Gotti's life? Matter of fact, let's just speak hypothetical for a minute and play silly. What's the odds that Govan didn't set anything up, but it's a mighty coincidence that two people he admitted to being in contact with and knows just so happen to be the two suspects in the shooting? And Govan is connected to the same people that dislike Dolph, but yet he wants us to believe that they had something to do with it, but he himself didn't. Now, I also told y'all a long time ago, if Govan was found guilty, that'll open a whole nother can of worms, because that would have to mean that his connection to CMG would cause law enforcement to now have to investigate them, because it's a known fact that they didn't like young Dolph. So I don't know, but like I said it previously, Govan, Straight Drop, and Cornelius are just the fall guys if you ask me. It's a deeper plot to the unaliving of young Dolph where more people were involved. In fact, y'all remember the woman stated that she seen young Dolph and Ruth Chris that day and took a picture with him? Y'all remember that picture?
He was murdered today, November 17th, Wednesday. This was yesterday, November 16th, Tuesday, my 33rd birthday.
Well, remember Cornelius Smith told us that they had the drop on Dolph the day before he died at the gas station, but when they arrived to the gas station, he was gone. So remember the video we seen of him in that gas station? He had the same exact clothes on. So keep that in mind, because when Dolph was on the live, he was wearing that same yellow shirt, which would have to mean that he was literally wearing the same clothes for 2 days straight. Now let's be real, y'all. With Dolph being who he is, y'all think Dolph wearing the same clothes back to back in public like that? Right? And also, Dolph was supposed to go to every one of his artist turkey giveaway in Memphis days prior, in which they say he was present for none of them and nobody was able to get in contact with Dolph. So where was he? Why didn't he show up to the turkey drives when we heard him speak at the hospital saying that he was going to the turkey drive? I could go deeper, But I'd rather y'all go to Young Dolph Unsolved on Instagram and get caught up because it's a lot you need to know. And just ask yourself, Gotti, CMG, Big Jook have all been mentioned a bunch of times within this trial, even before the trial. How is it that none of them have been investigated when they have very, very known friction with Young Dolph and Paper Route Empire, and it's known that they have affiliation with Govan? Now, the only thing I could think about is the feds may have something coming their way soon, and maybe that's why they're trying not to prosecute him to make it hot. They're not doing an investigation because they have a separate investigation going. Who knows? But it is funny that they would mention a bunch of times within this trial and have yet to be investigated, at least to our knowledge. Now, I know that was a lot, but now we're going to get into the throwback video of us speaking on the Young Dolph shooting, the inconsistencies of what didn't make sense, now that y'all pretty much caught up with everything that's going on. Y'all hit that thumbs up button so we can get this video into the algorithm, and if you not subscribed to the platform already, make sure you do so now. Let's get into it.
Your boy CEO Bobby, as we know, he's being pinned as one of the suspects in Young Dolph's murder, right? Now, CEO Bobby had an Instagram page prior to his most recent one that had about 14,000 followers. Now, for some odd reason, I don't know why, but his pages keeps getting deleted and he keeps making new ones. Now, I'm not the smartest man in the world. However, one must wonder, out of everyone doing a whole bunch of foolishness all over social media, why does CEO Bobby pages out of everybody keep getting deleted? Now, prior to everyone realizing that the shop owner and his daughter's stories didn't add up, CEO Bobby and his other Instagram page went to tell us that Makita's Cookie Shop is who allegedly set Young Dolph up. But at that time, no one was paying the cookie shop any mind. Alright, now also, before we get into all of this, this is for entertainment purposes only. Yeah, all this is alleged, so you know, y'all take what y'all want from it. Anyway, fast forward now to November 28th, CEO Bobby took to Instagram stories to expose Makita's Cookie Shop even more by posting screenshots of a conversation he allegedly had with them. And in the messages, which appears to be Makita's Cookie Shop's Instagram, you can hear them saying things like this, quote, so in a screenshot at 11:40 a.m., it seems that they sent CEO Bobby 2 photos, right? And after those 2 photos, they said this, quote, Bobby, I promise you, if you expose us for what happened, we'll come for you and your family, simple as that. Then you can see CEO Bobby responded. He said, you sell cookies. You shouldn't be talking to me. Go make them cookies because you got the wrong one. And then now it says, in another text from Makita's Cookie Shop, we removed cameras. We did you a favor. Now do us a favor. The inside footage is nowhere to be traced. We came prepared. All right. So then he went on to say this. Okay, so you saying what? Then Makita's Cookie Shop went on to say, keep me and my family business out the mix. Use your platform and tell them just make up anything so they know we had nothing to do with it. I'll even give you money. We need this bad. Then they also said, plus nobody knew Dolph stashed here. That's why you think they broke in and went directly to the back. Pretty much, I don't know if they knew how to spell. It was very grammatically incorrect. Anyway, so those was pretty much the messages that was included in the screenshots that CEO Bobby took and posted to his stories. Now, I don't know how good CEO Bobby's Photoshop skills are, but judging from the screenshots here, either that's their Instagram or it's Photoshop. Now, the daughter said that her father was in the store when everything happened to Young Dolph, right? But then the father stated that he pulled up right after everything happened. So which one is it? Alright, now once again, where there's smoke, there's fire. The truth never ever changes. So the real question now is this: who's lying and why? You see what I'm saying? Why are they lying and what are they trying to hide? And to be honest with y'all, I don't know why they aren't releasing the surveillance footage, because they're showing us everything else. They even showed us still photo shots of the surveillance instead of just releasing the surveillance. What are y'all keeping from us? You see what I'm saying? Wouldn't that be easier? But anyway, right? I think the surveillance footage would definitely tell us if the father was in or out the shop at the time the incident happened with young Dolph. Did he pull up right after like he said, or was he in the store when everything went down like the daughter said? Either way, somebody is lying, and why? This is what a lot of people are not like paying attention to. Everybody, oh, how you gonna say that the cookie shop had anything? Understand? It's totally understandable. I wouldn't want to think that as well, because, you know, if he's been going there for quite some time, you would think they developed a relationship and all that. But guess what? Their stories aren't adding up. In fact, they have two different stories. How are we ignoring that? But anyway, on another note, there's two other stores that was in that lot as well. So I want to know where their surveillance is as well, because I think that'll help as well. Or why nobody from those stores aren't speaking up about what they saw as well. Why is it just the cookie shop getting all the recognition with all the stuff that's going down? Yes, he was killed in there, but also why nobody else came forward from the other stores that are in that lot as well? Let's hear what they said happened. Now, at first they tried to paint the picture that Dolph was by himself and that's why he was easily ambushed. But then once eyewitnesses said he was actually with someone, they released still shots of a man with dreads who they said was locked up on the scene afterwards. But a man with dreads running towards the car with some sort of automatic weapon. Now, he did all that running up to the car but didn't even shoot. You see what I'm saying? They're trying to tell us that he did shoot and managed to kill one of the suspects and shoot the other, injuring. However, if that was the case, why when they found that car, it had no bullet holes, it was no shattered windows, no nothing, no indication that the car was shot up? Why not? And while we're talking about the guy with the dreads, in fact, why hasn't he have yet to be identified? Who is he? Nobody knows who he is. None of Dolph's closest friends know him. I didn't see anybody on paper route say free so-and-so. No, nothing. So who was that mysterious guy, man? Now, you got the cookie shop receiving large donations. We seen their GoFund account reach over $70,000. That's not including other donations that they may have gotten that we don't know about. I don't know. It's so much questions, man, but it all starts with the cookie shop owner and the daughter having different stories. The truth never changes. I'm gonna keep saying that, y'all. The truth never changes. And I don't know if any of y'all seen the interview with the daughter, but she didn't look distraught at all. She looked more nervous and suspicious than anything. She didn't seem concerned. She was acting weird and even smiling while answering some questions pertaining to what happened to Dolph. Who you know that just had somebody murdered in their establishment that got time or anything to sit there and smile while you being interviewed about somebody you quote unquote was like family with? Your boy CEO Bobby, right? It's been so much reports and so much things that's tying him to this young Dolph murder and putting him involved. That is crazy. I'm talking about down to people saying his keys, from the money he's flaunting all of a sudden to just a whole bunch of things. That's another video. But what we're going to talk about now is him allegedly saying that the cookie shop are the ones that actually had young Dolph set up, right? And it makes you think, because one thing we do know about the cookie shop for sure is that their stories does not add up. You see what I'm saying? The stories do not add up. So at the end of the day, I always tell y'all, where there's smoke, there's fire. Once you lie about something, at the end of the day, that means the truth is somewhere buried in that lie, and you gotta find the truth. Now, also you gotta remember, if y'all had nothing to do with it, why lie? You know, if I'm not mistaken, I think the girl is the one who said, I think the father called, or something like the father called and told him about what happened, and he was performing CPR or telling Dolph to stay with him, whatever the case may be. Then I think he said he pulled up. It's all over YouTube. Alright, at the end of the day, if you want to find this all over YouTube, I never did a video on it because it was too much videos out there pointing out the obvious, and I don't got, you know, I like trying to be Original. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. Now, for one, they stories don't add up. They got two different stories. And not to mention, I always go back to this one thing. Why was it that they was able to shoot this man through the glass and he was the only one that got hit, that died? That's it. Like, nobody got grazed, nobody else got shot. These guys are either perfect shooters, like some sharp shooters, or something is fishy. You see what I'm saying? And you gotta remember, you never know who's tied to who these days. And like I explained to y'all before, that man was not followed. Like a lot of the stories I see out there, it just don't make sense. It's like an insult to somebody's intelligence with all these stories that's flying around. They're like, oh, he was followed. Oh, he was by himself. Now, once again, like I said, he was not by himself, and that proved to be accurate because of two things. Before we even seen the so-called picture of the guy running after the car like he about to shoot with a gun, but when they found the car, it was no bullet shattering. It was no nothing. The window wasn't shattered. The car didn't have no bullet holes, no nothing, right? But before all that, eyewitnesses on the scene. It was a lady, I never forget, on YouTube. She has a video up. She was there. She said that young Dolph was with somebody.
Yo, Nozzle, turn this
right?
up.
And my whole thing is this: if he was with somebody, why didn't that somebody do anything? And before the pictures came out of this, whoever this mysterious man was that was running at the car, I told y'all that he was with somebody. When everybody was trying to say he was alone, no, he was with somebody. Who do y'all know that's going to be riding with y'all and y'all mans, and y'all see somebody killing your mans pretty much in your face and you just sit there? But anyway, once again, like I said, CEO Bobby's saying that the cookie shop has some type of involvement. They the ones that actually set him up. We don't know who that girl is tied to. We don't know who the cookie shop is tied to. So who knows, you know? And not to mention, at the end of the day, right? Y'all gotta peep what's going on. Because it seems like everything is slowly unveiling itself. And y'all going for the most, some of y'all are going for the most obvious, and it's never like that. Sometimes the most obvious is just bull crap, it's a distraction. You gotta really pay attention. Now, I'm not saying the cookie shop had anything to do with it. This is all alleged. But certain things just aren't adding up. You see what I'm saying? The way this man was taken out, how fast they pulled up to that cookie shop, it's almost like they knew he was going to be there. It wasn't nobody following, none of that, man. Let me tell you, when somebody following, you could definitely tell when somebody's following. So all like, oh, he's like, no. You see what I'm saying? From the person being in the car and not doing anything while Dolph was being shot, to nobody else in the cookie shop being shot or harmed in any way, down to no bullet holes being in the car, no nothing. It's a lot going on, y'all. But anyway, I'm not gonna drown y'all out with this video. Like I said, your boy CEO Bobby, he's alleging that the cookie shop actually has some type of involvement. My thing is this, right? If they did have some type of involvement in it, right? Let's hypothetically speak, right? If they did have some type of involvement in it, where did that come from? Where did that hit? Where did it come from? You see what I'm saying? That's something we got to think about. If they did have some type of involvement, who appointed that? I don't know, man. Anyway.
But this what I'm saying, though, like, I've been saying to Dolph for 2 years. Started doing songs with the man 2 months ago. I mean it.
There's another suspect by the name of Shondell Barnett on charges of first-degree murder and attempted first-degree murder, but they got him down for like being an accessory. Now, the most recent suspect goes by the name of Jovan Hernandez. Jovan Hernandez is also the father of Lotta Cash Desto, the young female rapper who was gunned down in Houston, Texas, September of this year. Now, 43-year-old Jovan Hernandez has been indicted on charges of first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Now, it's been reported that Jovan was reportedly plotting on Dolph's death in the months leading up to the actual shooting. Now, they didn't specify how they know that or what led them to believe that he was doing that, pretty much plotting and conspiring to carry out the shooting. However, I'm sure most of that will come out as time go within the case. I personally feel that they're not going to release how they know that information because maybe investigations are still ongoing, or it could either be someone's cooperating with the police, because how else would they know that, in the upcoming months prior to the shooting, that he was pretty much conspiring and had a hand in, carrying out the shooting. So either somebody's cooperating or somebody's cooperating. Anyway, the part that's concerning the most in regards to this case is the fact that it's been since proven that Jovan Hernandez also has very close ties to Yo Gotti, right? Yo Gotti's brother, and also the CMG camp as well. Now, since his arrest, there's been pictures floating around of Jovan mingling with Yo Gotti's big brother, Big Jook. And as we know, these are the same guys that has had beef with young Dolph for the longest when it came to who was the king of Memphis. So my question is this, right? What does this say for the CMG camp? Because since Dolph's passing, it's been proven time after time that a lot of people and things involved in this Dolph case all tie back to the CMG camp. And we can't be the only ones seeing this. I'm sure, if we see it 9 times out of 10, the feds see it. They got to. They have too much intelligence on their side, technology and whatever the case may be. We know that they're on these computers. We know they're watching. So I'm pretty sure that they have this information as well. But anyway, it goes from political leaders in Memphis, police in Memphis, the suspects, the car, and even Makita's cookie shop proved to have had affiliation with CMG. So do the police just let that slide? Do they not look into that further? Do they not pay that any much attention? Not to mention the daughter mingling with Yo Gotti big brother and being a fan of Yo Gotti, things of that nature. And not to mention with Dolph being a regular or whatever at Makita's cookie shop, one may put 2 and 2 together. Or does that get overlooked? So not to mention Straight Drop, who was already incarcerated for the case, has plenty of pictures proving his affiliation with CMG. And prior to his arrest, he was even trolling about the killing before going on the run, as he would make a song and video called Track Hawk. So, like I said, man, one may think, what's going on? When you got Jovan Hernandez having ties to CMG, you got Straight Drop having ties to CMG. Does all that get overlooked? Do they even care about that type of information? In which I'm sure they do, but it hasn't came out that, any investigations upon any type of CMG or anything has been going on. So who knows? Now, just a few days ago, we've learned that Jovan Hernandez, who is also the father of the deceased rapper Lotta Cash Desto, who was shot and killed in Houston, Texas, has also been involved in young Dolph's murder. Now, he's been arrested and indicted on charges of first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. And reports stated that Jovan was reportedly plotting on Dolph's death in the months leading up to the shooting. Usually when they indict you, they have reason to believe that you have involvement in the crime. And what sticks out to me the most is them believing that he conspired to commit the murder months prior. It's only 2 ways of knowing that. And I would say it's, whether they was already investigating Jovan prior to the murder, or someone is straight up cooperating with law enforcement. All right. Now, we already did a video where we said that there's too many people being arrested for Dolph's murder who was affiliated with his enemies, CMG, only for them not to be arrested as well. So right after Jovan's arrest, a picture of him and Big Jook started to surface. And for y'all that don't know, Big Jook is actually Yo Gotti's big brother. People started beginning to get curious, So lo and behold, shortly after Jovan was arrested, now allegedly they're saying that the rumors are Big Jook, who is Yo Gotti's big brother once again, has also been arrested for having involvement in Dolph's murder as well. So now seeing this also reminds me of the picture that Big Jook took with Raven, who is Makita's cookie shop employee and daughter of the owner. And y'all remember when
both of their stories didn't add up to what they were saying happened to young Dolph in the cookie shop. So learning all this, and if Big Jook was in fact arrested for his involvement, that will only lead us to believe that Raven also has some type of involvement in it as well. You know, it seems like the rabbit hole is going to continue to get deeper and deeper and deeper. And I told y'all before, if y'all haven't seen the videos that we covered on this whole situation, y'all can go back, you know, on the channel and search it for yourselves. We got a whole playlist as well. But the walls are closing in, you know, slowly but surely. If I'm not mistaken, I think their next straight drop in Cornelius, their next court date is next year, something like that. Or I got to look more into it. I forgot. But however, it's too much people involved in the situation that has affiliation or some type of ties back to CMG for them not to sit back and investigate CMG. No, it's not a form of snitching. It's not none of that. We're not none of that. You know, the proof is pretty much in the pudding. You know, you could go back and you can see for yourself all the people that they are saying are involved, down to the cookie shop themselves, have some type of affiliation with CMG. So, I guess we're just gonna have to sit back and see what happens. But as of right now, allegedly they are saying that Big Jook have been arrested for his involvement in the whole young Dolph murder case. I did see that he went on his Instagram account in the story and promoted Glorilla. So I'm not sure if maybe that's somebody that handles his Instagram, or if it's truly in fact him. But I guess we just gotta wait and see. But the truth will always show itself. All right. Govan Hernandez, who was arrested and charged with having affiliation to young Dolph's passing, was released after being arrested, and now he's doing an interview. Now, first and foremost, let me start off by saying this. He has an open case and he's agreeing to do interviews. That's the first no-no. Secondly, there's a point during the interview where the interviewer asks him a question concerning CMG, and he says that he can't speak on it. Now, this interview is about 2 to 3 days old, you know, in reference to it dropping, and I just was able to catch it, and I wanted to touch on a few key things I observed while watching. Like I stated not too long ago, if you're out on bail or bond and you have an open case, doing an interview will never be in your best interest, because you know, like I know, that at some point the interviewer is going to ask questions concerning the elephant in the room. He is involved in one of the biggest cases in Memphis, where he himself is at the head of it, and he's probably the closest the public have seen to bridging the gap between CMG allegedly having a hand in the Dolph case. Now, with Big Jook gone, right now the only person that can actually really speak on anything is Govan Hernandez, because not only is he a top suspect in Dolph's case, but his affiliation with Big Jook is what bridges that gap. So it's safe to say that he knows a lot, and he should be expecting questions concerning the case to arise. Now, I was always taught that if you let someone talk long enough, they're bound to say something that they shouldn't be saying, which is why you should never talk more than necessary, especially with an open case. Now, shout out to Memphis Stan G, because he asked him a few questions, and I think Govan said more than enough, or more than he think he said. Now, if you pay attention and read between the lines, you'll be able to catch it. Now, we're going to get into all that, but for now, make sure you hit that thumbs up button so we can get this video into the algorithm. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please make sure you do so now. Now, let's get into it. Now, if you want to see the whole video, I left a link to the full interview pinned in the comments, so y'all can head down to Memphis Stan G's channel and watch the whole video there. Show him some love. Now, he was asked about his affiliation with CMG, and he says that he can't speak on it. But I'm lost because he's been seen in pictures with Big Jook, so it's harmless to say how you met him or your affiliation with him, because the world already seen that you do in fact know CMG members and have some sort of affiliation with CMG, period. However, he makes matters worse on himself and make himself look guilty by saying things like, I can't really talk about it or say anything because whatever. Then there was a part where he was asked if he knew Black Youngster, and he says, quote, "Man, I don't rap. I ain't never met no damn Black Youngster in my life." Now, I want y'all to go to watch the whole interview on Stan G's page so you can check his body language when he says that. Because when he said it, it sounds like he's trying to deflect. It didn't seem genuine at all. The way he said it seemed like he was being more sarcastic than serious, and his face expression gave it all away if you ask me. You know when someone's lying and they got the face like they know that you know they're lying? That's the kind of face that he gave away. We know he was close friends with Big Jook, who is CMG, CEO of CMG actually. So you mean to tell me that you don't know Black Youngster? Then he's stuttering and just giving all the signs of someone who knows they're lying but just keep going with their story.
She said shortly after, this is what I'm being told from that employee, she said her father called her on the phone. She said she could hear her father saying, "Stay with me, Dolph. Stay with me, Dolph. Stay with me, Dolph." She's telling me that the shooting happened inside of
Maurice
the store.
drove up to see his workers raising their heads from ducking bullets and the young man.
The owner of the cookie shop said that his daughter said one thing and his daughter said that her father said another thing. You know, their stories didn't add up. She said pretty much that she called the cookie shop or something like that, and her father said that he was in there with young Dolph and he was taking his last breath and he was telling them something. He was telling Dolph, stay alive, right? That was her story. Then his story was that none of that transpired. He said that he came at the end of everything. Right? He pretty much said after all the shots rang out and rang off, he pulled up to the cookie shop on his own. So pretty much saying that he was never there. She's saying that he was there. So like I said, in the beginning, their stories didn't add up, and that was the first red flag. Like I always tell y'all, the truth never changes. It's never an inconsistency in the truth. The truth is just the truth. Whenever you gotta question something and it don't make sense, it's not the truth. I'm sorry. And once again, if you was tapped in with the channel for a long time, y'all remember when we made it be known that the stories that add up, and we pointed it out like, yo, he said this and she said this. She jumped on the next live smoking. She did an interview with somebody. I forgot who she did an interview with. And then she sat there and said, oh, for all the blogs saying that we lying, how we lying, what she said, my father telling me not to say nothing, my parents telling me not to say nothing, but it's hard, so I gotta keep quiet, blah, blah. That's not what it is. She trying to say we was making stuff up. We wasn't making nothing up at all. All we was doing was pointing out the flaws and the red flags. Not just me, a couple other bloggers as well.